Well, guess what? We finally have some good news, or possible good news, coming out of the White House. And I'll explain why in just a moment. But here's the thing. Republicans and Democrats are trying to get along, trying to pass some type of bipartisan bill to help out the American people. But where Democrats want to start is they want to start specifically with the Obamacare tax credit extension. They need this extension to happen, or else many Democrats say they will not continue with the government funding bill. That is something that has to be redone by actually February 1st. So we'll see what happens there. But look at this right here. It says Republicans push Obamacare tax credit alternatives as enrollment deadline looms. Now, here's the thing. Okay, let me just show you this right here. It says the majority of Affordable Care Act enrollees must sign up by December 15th for 2026 coverage or risk being shut out of the market. That is coming up soon. Today is November 24th. So we have less than a month. Okay, we have about 30 days, or 28 days, something like that, before this happens. Actually 24 days, something like that, 20 days, whatever. Anyway, it's coming up. That is an extremely important date. But look at this right here. It says White House to pitch a Trump Obamacare extension with limits. Now, here's the thing. Republicans understand that if they extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies, that is going to be a big win for Democrats. And what Republicans can't afford is for Democrats to get all these little wins throughout the next year and Republicans get nothing. So here's what they're discussing. If they give the extension for the Affordable Care Act, and again with limits, and I'm going to show you this in a moment, explain what this is saying, but what they're also asking for is, well, we need something for us. We need something in return for us. For instance, let's go and vote on these tariffs. Let's ensure these tariffs pass through Congress. This isn't an executive order. This isn't President Trump acting unilaterally. This is Congress going out and passing some sweeping tariffs. By doing that, it would then make it legal. The Supreme Court would have no say in it, and then President Trump can do what he wants with that tariff revenue. If he wants to send a $2,000 tariff rebate check, he can do it. Does he want to pay down our national debt? He can do it. Provide more money to SNAP beneficiaries, to Social Security recipients. He can do all those things. Okay, that's the good news. But here's what many are saying. Republicans are saying that there is a big negative, a big con to letting the Obamacare tax credits expire. And this is what they are, just to give you an idea. And I was talking to a friend of mine just recently, and he was saying this is exactly what they're preparing. This is what they're preparing their clients for. Republicans say if these tax credits expire, this means there's going to be higher healthcare costs for people with insurance. It says, what most people don't realize, when the uninsured go into the ER or any hospital or clinic and they can't pay, hospitals and clinics will raise the prices for the insured patients. Meaning you are going to pay more because these tax credits went away. So in the end, even though we may not be paying our tax dollars to go towards this, essentially we're going to pay more to the hospitals. And that's a huge problem. Now, I want to read you a little bit of this article right here. It says right here, the White House expects to soon unveil a health policy framework that includes a 2-year extension of Obamacare subsidies due to expire at the end of next month and new limits on eligibility. It says the proposal would mark President Donald Trump's foray into Capitol Hill negotiations over how to address healthcare premium spikes set to hit Affordable Care Act enrollees if Congress lets the premium subsidies expire. It says a White House official declined to confirm the details of the plan, saying, until President Trump makes an announcement himself, any reporting about the administration's healthcare positions is mere speculation. It says, As part of the deal to reopen the government, and I've talked about this before, Senate Republicans agreed they would let Democrats vote on the Affordable Care Act tax credits sometime in the early to mid-December, meaning we got less than a month. Here's the problem. The Congress goes on recess for 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, whatever it is. At the middle of December, they go on for the holidays and even into New Year's. They don't come back until January. So this would have to be passed before that. It says right here, the White House plan is expected to include new income caps for enrollees to qualify for the Affordable Care Act tax credits, as well as minimum premium payments, according to two people with direct knowledge. It says the planned eligibility cap would limit the subsidies to individuals with income up to 700% of the federal poverty line, aligning with what a bipartisan group of senators have been discussing separately, according to a fourth person. It says enrollees would also pay a minimum premium payment, a nod to concerns from conservatives that millions of Americans pay nothing in premiums while being unaware they are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act insurance plan. So, paying this minimum premium payment is something that Republicans want desperately. It says the White House's plan would call on Congress to appropriate funds for cost-sharing reductions, which would reduce out-of-pocket health care costs for the Affordable Care Act plans. Here's the next thing. How much money can this save? Now, why am I even mentioning this? This is what Republicans are asking for, specifically President Donald Trump. He wants to use the tariff revenue to give 150 million Americans a $2,000 tariff rebate. Okay? That would be substantial, but it would also cost $300 billion. According to reports, we are not even anywhere close to that. They expect at the end of this year, we're going to have about 150 million or $150 billion, meaning 150 million Americans would receive a $1,000 tariff rebate, or we reduce that and only 750,000 people, 75 million people receive this tariff rebate, but they still get $2,000. Now, here's where things are interesting. President Trump also asked, why don't we take the Affordable Care Act tax credit money? Let's not give it to the health insurance companies. Let's give it to the American people, and they can spend it as they wish. Now, there's also discussions, and again, I don't know how far these discussions go. Okay, I don't know which senators are in the discussions, but I do know there's discussions that are being had that what if we take some of the tariff funding, and what if we take that with some of the savings that the Trump administration is looking at right now, and we push that together. And at the same time, we pass a bill and get Congress to accept these sweeping tariffs. By doing that, it makes it permanent. The Supreme Court can't rule against it, so this goes forward. But at the same time, we do provide these tax credits for Obamacare for the next 2 years. That's what's currently being discussed. So again, it's good news that they are discussing this and they have options on the table. As of right now, there's no bill. I don't even see a proposal, but according to multiple reports, they are discussing so many different options, and they're trying to get things done and push things through within the next about 3 weeks. So we'll see what happens over the next 3 weeks, but the one thing I can tell you and can promise you is even though we don't know what's going to happen over those 3 weeks, I promise I'll be here every single day and I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But again, that is what we know as of today. So thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.